Okay. Now we are live. So far, 0 people in attendance. But let's start this.
Yep.
So we will start this off with a little introduction of myself and my lovely co-host.
Midnight 29.
So, Midnight, why don't you tell us something about you first?
Well, I've been on YouTube reading many stories for about 3 years now, I think. And yeah, I don't know what else to say.
Yeah, I am Visual Pony, the narrator. Some of you might, some others might not know me. I am 32, turning 33 this year. Oh my god, I'm an old fuck. And I've been doing this for 5 years this year. Narrated stories like The Twilight Enigma or The Celestia Code, but I'm most known for my Fallout Equestria narrations. Like Fallout Equestria Starlight, Fallout Equestria Security, Fallout Equestria Project Horizons, Fallout Equestria Pink Eyes, and currently I'm producing Fallout Equestria Homelands.
Lot of Fallout Equestria.
And I'm not even that big of a fan of the whole thing. Would you believe it?
A little.
Also, for all of those of you who do not know, Midnight 29 is the voice of Puppy Smiles in Fallout Equestria Pink Eyes.
Hi, I'm Puppy Smiles.
So, without further ado, I will welcome everyone who has joined us so far. I will move this over here, and so I don't get vertigo, I'll close this window and instead open up this one, because this is one we will need soon. And this one I'll only keep up so I can see your chat.
Don't worry, I'll keep an eye on it.
So, yeah, it's okay. I expect you to speak too, honey, so.
I know.
So, my lovelies, I have a little bit of an agenda here, and Midnight does too, don't you?
We do.
You do remember why we are here, don't you?
Yes.
So, today we are here to talk about voice acting and give all of you who are aspiring voice actors or narrators, all aspiring voice actors or narrators, a little bit of advice and a few tips to start out. Because I certainly had no one giving me advice when I started out. Did you?
No. I had absolutely no clue, other than people who would message me every now and again and say, hey, do this better, or hey, do that. Other than that, no. No one professional, anyone.
I remember I tried to message people back then and no one ever answered.
No.
So,
maybe a bit busy.
Midnight and I have decided on a little bit of an agenda here in which order we will do things. First of all, we want to talk to you about the basics, what you will need, the prerequisite of you starting out. In other words, equipment and programs that we use or that we would suggest using. Then comes a part where we will talk about narration, and I have a very big idea that this will be mostly my part. Or do you want to do that part, honey?
Hey, let's say we both do it, putting in our input.
Yeah. And then we get into voice acting. That's the real crux of the matter, and I think why most of you are here. And in the end, there will be just some general advice, because I personally think that a few voice actors would do good to actually follow a few steps when it comes to voice acting and reliability and professionality. That can be very, very annoying for a producer. Believe me.
Yeah. I've come across those far too often.
Yeah. So let's get started here. First of all, in my opinion, everyone, each and every one of you in the audience, can be a voice actor or a narrator. However, you will need a lot, and I mean a lot, of practice and doing things over and over and over again. The road to becoming a narrator or a voice actor is a rocky one.
Yeah.
You will not start out, release your first video, and have thousands of subscribers and becomes a voice acting or narration sensation that everyone has been waiting for and no one was expecting. And it can be disheartening at times. Oh, you've got some input there?
No, just I'm remembering back to like my beginning, and some people would say that I really was not that good and that I was pausing far too much. I didn't know much about editing back then, so it was not much fun. But
I didn't edit at all at the beginning. And all those videos with all my bloopers in them can still be found on my channel, by the way. But yeah, where was I? Okay. Yeah, you will need a lot of practice, a lot of redoing things over and over again. But as the saying goes, practice makes perfect. I started out shitty as hell, and believe me, I'm still not that good. And I've been doing this for 5 years.
it's like riding a bike. You fall off a good number of times at the beginning.
And there will be people, like Midnight just mentioned, who tell you that you are bad and who tell you that you should simply stop. Here's my first advice here. Don't listen to them. Because if you listen to them, then you've got already lost. And I see Captain Sand in the chat here. Hello there, another narrator, if I'm not mistaken. So, yeah, just don't give up. If you have dedication and you really, really want to become a narrator and make your stories come alive, then you can do it. But you will have to work for it. If you don't have the endurance to go through that, then you shouldn't become a voice actor or narrator, because it is tedious at times. But it is also a lot of fun.
That is true.
Yeah. And now let's begin with the equipment part of the whole panel to get that out of the way. Han, would you care to talk a little bit? Because I wanted to introduce your mic to our audience.
Yes. Actually, in the beginning, I used my laptop mic, which is never a good idea. But now I have a Blue Snowball, which is 10 times better. It's not like cheap, but it's a pretty good mic. And it's very good for my singing videos every now and again. The only thing I really need to get now is a proper pop filter. But yeah, I also now have a proper stand for it, which is another very important thing. Rather than holding up the mic to your face and not having the correct distance and everything. But yeah, Blue Snowball is what I've got.
The Blue Snowball is one of the the Blue Snowball is one of the mics that you can use if you don't want to spend a lot of money. And as you can hear when Midnight is talking, the quality is actually fairly nice.
Most definitely.
On my hand, I use a Blue Yeti, which is a bit more pricey. I put both mics on the screen. Here's is a side-to-side comparison to the two things. The Blue Yeti is a lot bulkier than the Snowball, that much I can tell you.
Oh yes, I've seen his mic, and it's a lot heavier, whereas mine is a lot lighter and a little bit more easily maneuverable.
But I must say that while I personally think the Snowball is nice, I would buy my Yeti again if I could, or if there was any need to.
Personally, I probably eventually will get, if this one breaks, I probably also will get a Yeti if I have the money. But Blue Snowball is very good for starting out.
And here we have a little bit of a comment from the chat from 8th Flame. I used to use an XLR microphone. I used the T-Bone SC400, and the quality was horrendous. It really was. You can hear that in like my earliest videos. I think halfway through my series that I did on Lonely Dr. Hooves, and it was horrible. There was a lot of, the mic has a lot of noise, a lot of static, and that is a big problem.
Oh yeah, especially trying to edit that out. It's just nightmare.
Yeah. And there's Kaylee.
Oh.
Hey, Kaylee.
Hi, Kaylee.
So the thing is, the first piece of equipment that you will need to start out, to be taken serious, is actually a decent mic. And we both would suggest either the Blue Snowball or the Yeti.
Most definitely.
However, what to do if you do not have a computer? I've encountered quite a few voice actors who have started to record their stuff on their iPhones.
That's really not the best.
No. Because here's the crux of the matter. If you want to become a voice actor and just have to send in lines, maybe it can work, but the problem is that iPhones use a proprietary format that not all audio editing software can actually open.
And I remember whenever I was doing a story called The Night Guards, I did a few editions for it, and it was not... There was one or two people who I had to choose because they did good voices, but editing out all the crackling with some of the iPhone mics, or even just a normal Android phone, it was not great. And to be honest, I would have more than likely not chosen them if I had someone with a better mic. So yeah, you need a good mic.
I know the problem. So I must admit I have worked with one of those before. She did the Rainbow Dash voice in Project Horizons. However, she kind of managed it so that it was okay. And Duke Starflayer, your question will actually be answered later on in the voice acting part of this panel. Right now we are on the equipment part, but I promise you it will be answered. Okay, as I said, what to do if you do not have a computer? Computers nowadays, they're not that expensive, but I can understand that, especially if you're working a low-income job, like me, that buying a computer for 300, 400 bucks isn't really in your budget. Yeah, a Windows 10 computer would tick it. The Samsung sorry, I do not know what that is. I would have to look it up, but I assume that it is a microphone. Yep, it's a USB microphone. I have not worked with it yet. I cannot tell you what qualities that microphone puts out, but alone from the price tag alone, I would say that it might be around the same as the Blue Yeti, not Blue Yeti, Blue Snowball, but I'm not sure. I would have to work with it, and the only experience that I have is with the Blue Snowball and the Blue Yeti.
I think I remember this one. I think I looked into it whenever I was looking at microphones, but I ended up not getting it.
Ah, okay.
That's all I remember, sorry.
Mr. Pizza Cat, I cannot really answer your question here. And I'm text-based voice can only do deep voices. You want to do deep voices, or you can only do deep voices, and you want to do animations.
No. I think he's asking, or yeah, Mr. Pizza Cat. He uses text talk, I am guessing. So because his voice is too low to do most of the pony voices. So he's wondering, is there any advice for helping him train his voice to do higher voices, I am guessing? Or any advice on how to find people who do pony voices? I don't know.
No, I think what the question here actually is, he doesn't want to do his animation text-based, so with subtitles, but he wants to use his own voice, but can only do deep voices.
Yeah, probably that. I don't know.
And the thing is, you can't use deep voices for just about anything. Just use Bookmark, for example, or Brayburn. So, you want to know what it was like to read Fallout Equestria Project Horizons? I think I did a video on that. It almost killed me. So, here's a bit of advice for people who do not have a computer and not the Horizon characters. When it comes to voice acting, I'll tell you in a moment, John. The thing is here, for those who, because I kind of want to get through with the stuff here so we can actually start answering your questions, guys. So, the Otis Cosmo Win X9 tab, that's the thing that I have actually right next to me here. It's a Windows 10 tablet, and if you get a Bluetooth mouse and keyboard with that, plus a micro USB dongle where you can put on your USB mic, then that is a low budget alternative to buying a few $100 laptop. I think, honey, since there are so many voice acting questions here,
we should jump to that.
Yeah, and I'll do the narration bit at the end.
That is fine. That sounds like a plan.
Okay, John, now to your question. You want to know if your voice has to fit the character. I personally say no. Because in voice acting, the most important thing is acting. Because I certainly cannot do a very good bookmark voice. Well, I think I do act them quite well.
A lot of the times, there are some people who prefer show accurate. However, if you can act the character, that's usually 10 times better. You could get someone you could be really good at a voice, but just the acting about acting that character doesn't work. Personally, I would also put acting the character above show accurate, because it actually draws in the listeners even more.
Mm-hmm.
Most people don't really mind if rarity is slightly off.
For example, you know, guys, that I do not work with many other voice actors. Project Horizons was really an exception. And I kind of regret working with that many.
I remember back when I decided stupidly at the very beginning to do a huge project of the Night Guards. Now, it wasn't nearly as big as Horizons or Fallout Equestria, but I still had to get loads of people together to act all of them, and it was very hard to get, especially training some of them to, because some of them were amateurs, but they pulled through with a bit of coaching, and they were really good in the end.
Yeah. Here's the thing, the advice that I want to give all aspiring voice actors out there. When you accept a role, try to find out as much as you can about your character. And no, I personally do not do voice warm-ups. I go into it cold. However, become your character. For example, when I was voicing Blackjack in Fallout Equestria Project Horizons, I had read almost the entire story before I actually started narrating it. So I would have as much information as I could get on the character. I projected her onto me, you might say. And so Blackjack became me, in a way. And I became Blackjack. However, in such a way, if you do it that way, then you also have to act out what your character is doing. A good example for this is if your character is in a happy mood, and this is the one thing that so many voice actors apparently do not seem to get. They sit there and try to act all happy. And as you just heard in my voice, that was not convincing at all. What would you say, hon?
Yeah, no.
But if I sit here like this and speak like this, and this is totally convincing you that I'm totally happy and don't have a splitting headache. So yeah, actually, yes, I do have a splitting headache. You know what I did here? It has nothing to do with acting talent here. By the way, Han, could you please keep track of the questions here because I'm kind of in the flow right now.
That's all right. Go ahead.
Here's the thing, guys. Act out what your character is doing. If your character is happy, then pull up the edges of your mouth as high as you can, because it will convince your audience that you're actually happy. If you're angry, then scowl, because it will, believe me or not, I'm doing that right now, it will change how your voice sounds. If your character is holding an inspiring speech, then move your hands about, gesture, move. Don't just sit there and try to record your lines. It really, really makes a difference. Or, as I had to do a lot of times in Fallout Equestria Project Horizons, with cry or two other emotions. If I had said something sad right now, for example, if my streaming software would have worked, I would have been able to give you sound samples from projects I've worked on. There is one scene in Project Horizons where Blackjack is being hugged by Psalm, and she's crying, and she says, "I had friends." Just this sadness. Did it sound convincing? Honey?
Sorry, I was just I was reading a question. Sorry.
Did I sound convincing?
Yes, you did.
So you see, that's stuff that you have to, yeah.
I remember once when I was recording some lines, my dad might have knocked on my door and asked if I was all right. That's sort of the type of emotion you're going for. That other people, like, next door might be like, she said she was recording, but that sounds serious. Someone's asking, have you ever tried to read a story but have the creator of that story ask you not to? I have yet to come across that.
I had that twice.
Oh, okay.
Once was a Fallout Equestria story. I don't actually remember which one. There was... I actually didn't produce it in the end because the author told me that he and his friend wanted to do an audio version of it, and they feared that if I did a version of it, it would cut views on their version.
Huh. And well, that's fair enough. And Tyler Martin asks, how would you go about getting started in voice acting? Just do it.
Just do it.
Just get a mic, get a computer, get Audacity, and do it.
That's all there is to it. Do it! Just do it! Seriously, if you can, if you get that little trick down, that smiling when you're happy, scowling when you're angry, and stuff like that, that you have to do your facial expressions, even though your audience cannot see you.
If you look at behind the scenes of animations movies, there you can see the actors who are voicing doing things, moving their hands, using their expressions. They aren't just sitting there drinking tea, saying the lines every now and again.
That's how I started doing it, by the way. I started like that. If you go into my older videos, there's no emotion in there.
Yeah. same here. And I'm the one who did performing arts at A level.
And here's the thing, honey. All of you guys want to know what actually was the first time that I started putting emotion into something?
What?
I think it was chapter 34 of the original Fallout Equestria.
Oh.
I will answer those questions in a bit.
Okay.
And there is a scene where little Pip comes out of a cellar where she has just learned that the ponies she has helped are cannibals.
Ooh.
That she has killed dozens of ponies who did nothing wrong for cannibals.
Oof.
And to her defense, she has a concussion at that point. And she is a hero, no doubt about that, even though she does some bad stuff too.
Mm.
And she comes out of the cellar and is like, "You're cannibals!" It was the first time I really put emotion in it. And when I re-listened to that scene later on, when I edited it, I was like, wow. Just wow. Could you hear the anger just now?
Oh, most definitely.
And there are things, yeah. Hi, Super Chatter.
I think it's Supper Cat Chat.
Yeah, I wanted to correct it here, okay? So, thing is this. Put emotion in. Really do.
It sounds obvious, but it's not that obvious.
Even big shots in our community. And I'm going to drop a name here, and I know that some people might not like me for it.
Oh, great.
Aile Monty. She voiced the Overmare in the Out of the Stable thing, in the Out of the Stable animation. And she did a good job for the most part. For the most part. But there is one part where little Pip sits at the terminal and is typing in the stable door override code. And she's like, "Stop! I order you to stop this instant! Guards! I want every guard's pony at stable 2 door!" And it was like, if I was a guard, I wouldn't feel obliged to follow that order. And so actually I sat downstairs and was like, okay, how would I do it? How would I be compelled to follow that order? And now, guys, cover up your ears because I'm going to be loud. Stop it! I order you to stop this instant! Guards! I want every guard pony at stable 2 door! Now!
Ouch.
That's how I would have done it.
Sorry, I want to get to the questions that are further up.
Yeah.
What kind of character is your favorite to play, and what inspired you to become a voice actor?
My favorite character to play. And you answer that one first.
I'm trying to think. I don't know who would be my favorite character to play. I would have to say Puppy right now because I got so into her. She is so cute and adorable.
Mm-hmm.
As for what inspired me to become a voice actor, this is gonna be weird, but I didn't really get inspired to become a voice actor. I kind of got inspired to do something in the brony community, and I started through Dr. Wolf and Silverquill and all the analyst ponies first. And then I saw Scribbler, and I thought, you know what, I'll try this. And my dad actually was the one that said, you have a good storytelling voice. So I'd have to say my dad inspired me to become a voice actor. Because once I got started, I couldn't stop.
For me, it was back in the day, I was unemployed, spending most of my time at home, taking care of my grandfather. And I was already part of the brony community, but I wasn't doing anything. But I was listening to Forest Rain's rendition of Upheaval Breaking Point. Upheaval Breaking Point, Chapter 1. Inception. I think that was actually the name of the first chapter. So, and then he did the next story. Your favorite character to play? Yours is Puppy, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, I started. He started with the next story in the series, and he needed like a month or two sometimes for one chapter. However, those chapters are really small, hon, compared to what I've read so far. I think the longest chapter is like 1 hour, if even.
Let me guess, you thought you could do better?
I didn't think I could do better. I personally think that I'm like the McDonald's of narration. Quick, but not always the best. No, I just thought I could do that quicker, and I proved that I could. And it kind of snowballed from there. And my favorite character, well, I think that would be the Whiskey Queen.
Curtowin asks, how do you summon up energy for particularly energetic characters, e.g. Pinkie Pie? Oh, that sometimes depends on the person or the mood you're in. But me personally, you'd think after playing Puppy Smiles I'd have a bit more energy to play that. But so it takes practice. It takes a lot of practice to sort of be the energy, but you have to just do it. Just
do it! Just do it! No, seriously, guys. There is no magic in voice acting. It's not a magic trick what we're doing here.
Just get high on sugar. That'll help.
No, don't. That's bad for you. That is so bad for you. I'm a nurse, I can tell you. If you get a too high blood sugar level, you'll die. So don't. No, here's the thing. To voice characters like Pinkie Pie, you need a lot of practice for that, especially due to her speed.
Oh, yes.
If I talk like Blackjack, that's totally not a problem because she doesn't speak as quickly as Pinkie Pie.
Yeah. You have an idea how many times every time I've tried to act as Pinkie Pie and I've stumbled over my words? How many takes it takes is like, ugh.
Yeah.
I think one time it took me 20 minutes just to record one line because my tongue was just getting twisted.
Oh, yeah.
But yes, it takes a lot of practice. It Flame asks, question for both visual, Midnight, and Midnight. What's the worst character you ever voiced as? Ooh.
The worst character, as in characterization, I'll take it as that. Okay.
Okay.
It wasn't a story that I was paid to do and that I will never put up on my channel. And it was basically 14-year-old Twilight's cousin named something like Midnight something Sparkle, who was a total emo girl screwing Big Mac in his truck after going to an emo rock concert.
Okay then.
I was paid to do that in my defense, and I didn't know what kind of story it was before I started reading it.
Fair enough, fair enough. I'm trying to think. I don't know if there's a worst character I've ever done. I mean, obviously I'm not great at voice acting some of the characters, but I don't know. I don't know how to answer that one. Sorry.
Well, Jerry Grant says at least I got paid. I felt so soiled after that. You can ask Kaylee and you can ask Midnight. I felt soiled. Seriously, I didn't want to record for almost a week.
There. It's okay. It's over now.
Mr. Pizza Cat, you want to know what character we would be able to do a perfect impression of if we could?
Perfect impression. I don't think I can do any perfect impression. Other than Puppy, because Puppy doesn't have a normal voice.
if you could choose one to do a perfect impression of, what would you do?
Oh.
Which would you choose?
Oh, okay. Twilight.
Twilight? Okay.
Just because I can never, that's one of the ones I really cannot do. I cannot do Twilight at all.
Big Mac.
Rainbow Dash. What?
I'd choose Big Mac.
Big Mac. Fair enough. And Soju asks, any tips for voice actors trying to make it in the community in general?
Get a mic. Scroll back in this live stream. We gave a little bit of advice on equipment. Get yourself some equipment. Use Audacity. It's a free recording software. Here, I put it on the screen for a second there. And just look for auditions.
Audition for everything. Literally everything.
Audition, 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 audition.
Even if you don't think you'll be good at it, give it your best shot, because you never know. You might be what they're looking for.
Yeah.
An example would be, I thought I didn't do very good Catwoman, but people encouraged me, and I went and auditioned for Scribbler's most recent Batman and MLP crossover, and I'm now the backup for it. So I was chosen, and I was like, okay, awesome. That's one I can be more confident in. So just audition for everything and anything.
Yep, just audition, audition, audition. And know my voice in what I'm using right now is kind of my normal voice.
Same here.
For example, if I'm reading a story, I use a storytelling voice that would sound like this. You might notice that the pacing and the pauses that I use in this kind of voice are a lot different, as well as my inflections.
You do use different voices. I'm using air quotes, but you can't see, for narration. But they're not usually... My voice isn't usually very different, at least I don't think, than my normal voice IRL. John.
Kellen Nuke asks, what is the recommended age for voice acting? Just start.
Yeah, I don't really think is there?
No. I think the youngest voice actor I ever worked with was 9.
Sorry, a little further up, John Clark asks, all right, I'm sorry if I'm asking too many questions, but what kind of software do you use for recordings? From normal recording apps to Audacity?
Audacity and where is it? There. Audition.
I mainly just use Audacity, but for editing and putting it all together, I use Premiere Pro, which is quite handy, and that helps me with, matching up the background music and sometimes even, which I've recently got into, sound effects. But that's how I would do it. But Premiere Pro is a subscription, so you have to pay monthly. So that's annoying. But Audacity is free, and you can do nearly everything in that.
And what you can't do, you can download as a plugin. Seriously, you can customize that baby like you want.
Best place to do auditions?
YouTube.
Yeah. Sometimes if you also have a character reel, which is just a video of all the different characters you can do from the show or from other shows, then people might see that. I have once or twice, when I don't want to do auditions, looked through voice reels and gone, actually, that's a really good voice. I'll message them and see if they're available. So a voice reel might be handy, but otherwise, YouTube. Yeah.
Yeah, the thing is, there's also a website that's, I think, Casting Call Club or something. I have a profile there, and I have actually found roles there before. Let me check real quick. YouTube.
I see a question which might take us a while.
There, this audiobook, I'll put the link in the chat. Right?
How did the two of you get into MLP?
For me, it's quite obvious and easy to answer that one, actually. Having that playlist that I just put in there, that's an audiobook where I did like 6 or 7 characters.
For me, I pretty much started watching MLP as a guilty pleasure because I was sick and I really wanted something to watch. And I was just flicking through YouTube. And then I found the Brony fandom and I was like, oh, this is a thing. Wait, am I a Brony? Wait, do I like MLP? I do. Oh, then I'm a Brony. Okay then. Let's see what this fandom has to offer.
And yes, we will move on to narration in a bit. I will, before this panel closes, I will talk about narration. First of all, I am not a furry. I don't know, are you?
A furry? No. I may have a wolf OC, but I'm not a furry.
And my story about getting into MLP was simply, I was very depressed about a girl cheating on me and was near suicidal, and a good friend from America kept sending me those pony parody videos. And I clicked on it and I watched, I think it was Lord of the Rings reenacted by Pony.
Mm-hmm.
And then in the sidebar here, you see it here in the sidebar, there's the recommended videos. And one of them was Games Ponies Play. Season 3 episode. And I watched it and I loved it. And I binge watched season 1 to 3 in 1 week. Don't judge me.
Oh, don't worry, we would never.
Also, not Lord of the Rings plus ponies, but Lord of the Rings reenacted by ponies. There. It is a whole animation reenacting Lord of the Rings with pony characters. I put the link in the chat. However, now let's move on to narration here, because there are people here who want to know about that stuff, even though I know that narration in and of itself is usually the part of the production of an audiobook that most people undervalue.
Yes, and Hun, you do realize we have 10 minutes.
We can go longer. However, here's the thing, guys. If you want to narrate all things that I said earlier and that Midnight said earlier, do still apply. Get a mic, get the software, and do it. However, I'll go ahead and get a text real quick so I can give you an example. This is actually something that I'm doing right now. For Equestria Homelands, Chapter 3. But I'll scroll up a little bit to a bit of, yeah, there's a bit of text here, no dialogue. So, if you narrate, you have to keep a certain pace, and if there is a emotional situation, then your voice should reflect that. If there's a sad situation, you should have a voice that reflects that situation. So even in narration, you still have to voice act at least a little bit. And if there is a situation where your character is being chased by a dozen griffins, then of course your voice should also reflect that. You have to bring your audience to see it in their minds like a movie. That is the thing. You have to adjust your voice and how you speak to the situation in the text. So, for example, I have a text here right now where Scotch Tape is following a strange zebra through a swamp. Stinkbutt McHuggan wasn't much of a traveling companion. He stayed near enough to follow, but far enough that she couldn't ask any of the millions of questions inside her or beg him to help her find her friends. Any attempt was met with a glare, and more than once she'd nearly lost him when she'd refused to go unless he helped. The trail they traveled on was so narrow and twisting that she'd almost tumbled into a bog, mud, or stinging plants. Twice they reached rivers that were bridged by arcing trees that met in the middle and vines woven together in a bridge all but indistinguishable from the rest of the foliage. The massive stallion had no problem navigating both, but Scotch felt one wrong step would dump her right into the water, with the hungry redigators and worse below. So, as you have just heard in this little bit of live narration here, I adjusted my voice to the situation and to what was said. That is a very simple but important rule about voice acting in general, and narration, of course. And you heard that I was trying to keep one certain pace to keep it all, understandable for my audience, in this case, you guys. Because let's read the next paragraph too fast. That would be, at least Stinkbutt wasn't trying to get her killed. If he'd wanted to do that, he could have simply let her walk into trees covered with huge nets of spiderwebs draped like gossamer over the entire hummock. Scotch stared as one of the great white birds became tangled in the filmy netting and was swarmed by spiders the size of the filly's hoof. In less than a minute, the large avian was cocooned and dragged into the shadows of the grove by some unseen force. I bet that not many of you were able to follow that. Were you, Han?
Not really, no.
The first part?
Yeah. I zoned out.
Ah!
I'm sorry. I'm looking at the chat.
Okay, guys.
Sorry.
I think I made my point clear here. Don't talk too fast. Don't talk too slow in a monotone voice.
And don't have long pauses.
Yeah, apparently something happened outside. There's nothing I can do about the sirens here. I'm sorry. But yeah, when you are reading a story, then go. Who killed someone, huh? She was not reading the chat. She killed someone. Ah! Okay.
Hey, a wolf's gotta eat.
Yeah, a wolf got to eat. That's true. And I hope you guys. By the way, no, I have not met any cast member of MLP. I've seen them on stage, but I've not met any of them. You?
I have met Luna.
Oh, she was. By the way, she was at GalaCon one year when I was there.
She was at
That was the center.
Everfree when I was there, and I got to talk to her a bit. She actually wanted to kidnap me because of my accent. So, you know.
Tabitha St. Germain. An awesome voice actor.
Oh, most definitely.
By the way, guys, and we will kind of have this as a closing word here. Many of you may not know this, but I'm a very big fan of the X-Files. And recently I rewatched season 2 of the X-Files. And in one of the episodes, the one with the creepy alien bugs that are glowing in the dark. If you look in the credits, then at the beginning it says that one of the characters is actually played by Tabitha St. Germain.
Ooh.
So yeah, a pony voice actor who actually played an actual role in the X-Files. Yes,
Fair
wait, Tio. I was as surprised as you were, believe me.
Hey, she doesn't have to be in all girly cartoons.
True. But yeah. By the way, if you enter like in the YouTube search, reenacted by ponies, you will get a lot. Jurassic Park reenacted by ponies, Harry Potter reenacted by ponies, Star Wars reenacted by ponies, Yu-Gi-Oh!, Avengers, Matrix, Call of Duty.
I think I've watched a good number of those. They're quite funny.
Yep, they are. And now we are at the end of this panel.
That went a lot faster than expected.
Certainly. Okay, I hope you all enjoyed it and you learned something.
Even if it was just a little bit.
Kind of became a Q&A here at the end.
I think most of it was.
You're all very welcome. And yeah, by the way, everything you have heard from us today, I might release as a book, not too far into the future.
I've read it. It's all of it is relevant.
So stay tuned. So, yes, a book. I will maybe release a book. I've already written it. Midnight has read it. And yeah. See you next time.
And stay brony.
Love you all.